Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. Why BC First Nation residents are seeing higher rates of deaths from the toxic drug crisis.
He ended up, becoming dependent on painkillers.
Breaking down the alarming numbers. Plus, wrapping up the first week of the public inquiry into a man killed in a violent encounter with police. The new details among officer testimony. BC's Muslim community marks the end of the Holy Month, while Sikhs get ready for the largest Vaisakhi parade outside of India. How each celebration is bringing people together.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. Toxic drugs are killing First Nations residents in BC at nearly 6 times the rate of the overall population. The data comes from the First Nations Health Authority in its 2022 toxic drug report. And as Angela Starrett reports, it shows First Nation men are dying at even higher rates.
I was in so much shock. There's so much emotional pain.
Last November, small boy lost his 23-year-old son Darius to toxic drug poisoning. He was Cree, a drummer and singer, and known for his generosity and kindness.
My son had such a loving and caring spirit. You could be strong and you could still be taken away.
At 21, Darius slipped on some ice and broke his collarbone.
And that's when everything changed for him. He had to get surgery, and he ended up, becoming dependent on painkillers.
Men made up 63% of toxic drug deaths among First Nations people in 2022.
2022 was the worst year ever in terms of deaths.
First Nations people represented 16.4% of toxic drug deaths in BC, despite making up only 3.3% of the province's population. This means First Nations people are dying from toxic drugs at nearly 6 times the rate of the general population.
I think as a parent, I was in denial. I didn't want to see my son in that light. And his death, he showed me, this is the ugly truth.
Now, Small Boy wants to open up conversations about addiction among Indigenous men and about expressing emotions like grief instead of masking it with substances.
That whole side of colonialism really influenced our society to be tough and to, not really, express your feelings and not to, basically not to have needs.
And colonialism through residential schools, the 60s scoop, and contemporary racism has created widespread trauma.
As an Indigenous person and somebody that's down here, I can sort of recognize the disconnection.
Disconnection from culture, land, and community, and also a serious lack of support. Livingstone started the Western Aboriginal Harm Reduction Society when he was a drug user in 2002. Today he wants to help others, but he says there just aren't enough resources.
There's no access to housing, and the supports that are out there just don't really, they're not enough to actually help people make changes in their life.
He says the Safe Supply program needs to be expanded to meet diverse needs, along with more mental health support and ways for men to make connections. Angela Starrett, CBC News, Vancouver.
A Vancouver City Councillor is pushing to reduce the speed along Cornwall Avenue in Kitsilano to make it safer for residents and visitors in the area. The move comes after a road accident last year where a 5-year-old girl was sent to hospital with critical injuries because of a collision between cars and her family. The 5-year-old was standing on a sidewalk near Cornwall and Arbutus with her dad and siblings. Her dad, whose last name we're not using to protect his child's identity, says their lives changed after that incident.
Daughter, she's healing. She's recovering. She started to walk again. And she's going to rehab twice a week. And also, my 2 boys were next to me while that happened. And my daughter's twin brother, he affected most psychologically. So he had this anxiety still going on. He can't go to school full time anymore.
He had speed is one thing, but left turns are the real concern. The motion proposes a pilot to reduce speed along Cornwall to 30 kilometers an hour for all vehicles. Infrastructure improvements will also be looked at. The first week of a public inquiry has wrapped up into the death of a man killed during a violent encounter with Vancouver police. Since Miles Gray died, none of the investigations have been conclusive, mostly because officers involved in the incident refused to cooperate. Now at the coroner's inquest, police must testify or risk being held in contempt. As Valpuri reports, it doesn't necessarily guarantee we'll get more information.
For the first time this week, Vancouver police officers spoke publicly about a fatal incident almost 8 years ago. It started with a 911 call about a man causing a disturbance outside a southeast Vancouver home mere steps from the Burnaby border.
Vancouver Police Emergency Line.
Hi there. We have a problem here. There is a guy who bothered my neighbor. She was just washing the outside and he took the water and spray on her. And he's just standing in front of the door and swearing.
It ended with a violent use of force in a struggle between police officers, as many as 9 of them, and a suspect. When it was over, Miles Gray was dead. His injury so severe an autopsy couldn't conclusively say what killed him. A coroner's inquest has so far heard from several of the officers first on the scene.
The reliability of all the evidence that they're giving is questionable, but we're also hearing a lot of I don't knows, I don't recall.
A common theme has been that a police union representative told the officers not to make handwritten notes after the incident.
If true, that's disturbing, and it's contrary to what the courts have said, and it's contrary to what the appropriate statute is in British Columbia.
Officers have testified Gray was extremely agitated, sweating profusely, hot to the touch and grunting. Yet his strength remained superhuman and he fought off officers like they were rag dolls. After the incident, the Independent Investigations Office of BC recommended some of the officers involved be charged with manslaughter, aggravated assault and assault causing bodily harm. Prosecutors declined to do so.
In light of the evidence here, and from what the scientific community is saying about what can lead to people's death, I think it's really important for Crown to reconsider approving the charges that were forwarded to them by the Independent Investigations Office.
The inquest, which continues next week, won't make findings of legal responsibility, but only recommendations to prevent similar deaths in the future. Valpuri, CBC News, Burnaby.
The future of a charming and controversial piece of waterfront property on Bowen Island is looking a little clearer today. Metro Vancouver Regional District has purchased 97 hectares of land at Cape Roger Curtis in order to create a new regional park. The $40 million transaction has been in the works since last August, but stirred up some controversy over questions about proposed changes to the site, including plans to rezone it for camping. The land was previously owned by a private developer. And this weekend, Surrey is set to host one of the biggest Vaisakhi parades outside of India. People travel from all over the world to be a part of the procession. Our reporter, Saurabh Sandhu, spoke with organizers to understand what makes this particular event so popular.
The tents are up and the buzz is strong. 128th Street is ready to come alive with Vaisakhi parade's post-pandemic return.
We're anticipating larger crowds just based on the demographics, also the fact that it hasn't run in 3 years.
Organizers are expecting between 700 to 750,000 people this year.
Due to like a large influx of international students from the Punjab area who will be very keen to participate, along with families in general that have been missing out on the parade for 3 years, and just a general awareness amongst the public and the mainstream community as well.
Sikh historian Charanjit Kaur Sandra says the Sikh community has strong roots in this province's history.
Well, the Sikh diaspora is one of the oldest diasporas out of the Indian subcontinent here in British Columbia and the lower mainland, including Vancouver, Surrey, and Abbotsford.
Sandra says Surrey has really become a cultural hub for the Sikh community.
A lot of communities have now flowed into the city, whether it's, for work, whether it's for other opportunities. They're flowing out of Vancouver into Surrey, and ditto for Abbotsford, flowing out of Abbotsford to Surrey. So there's been a lot of changes in the last 3 decades, I would say.
And Singh says it's not just the locals planning to attend.
We know there's like buses that run all the way from California to like northern BC, from Alberta, but there's a significant amount that we can say of individuals that come from outside of not only the lower mainland but outside of BC and Canada as well.
The annual event started in 1998 and has grown in numbers ever since. More than 2,500 participants representing 20 community organizations are expected to be at the parade. Last Vaisakhi Day parade was held in 2019 and over 500,000 people are estimated to have attended that event. Organizers say it's a reflection of the thriving Sikh diaspora and a testament to the multicultural values of Canada. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
Yeah, definitely a great event if you get the chance to check it out, and some really good food, so I do recommend it. And coming up in the show, we are going to bring you more on Eid celebrations today in the Muslim community as well. For now, though, park and city crews were out early this morning cleaning up Sunset Beach at Thornton Park after yesterday's unsanctioned 420 event. The celebration, which drew slightly smaller and quieter crowds than in the past, featured music vendors, activism, and, of course, marijuana. As you can see from these photos, participants left behind tarps, tents, and other debris. Crews moved in at around 5 a.m. and completed cleanup within a few hours. The wheels on the bus haven't been going round in the eastern part of the Fraser Valley. Public transit has been on halt for a month now. Transit workers walked off the job after talks broke down between the union and their employer, First Transit, on a new collective agreement. The union is asking for a wage increase that puts them at par with other transit workers in the region, who they say make around 32% more than them. First Transit's last offer put forward a 16% increase over 5 years.
It's pretty clear to us that they're unwilling to give up any of their profits. BC Transit's going to have to step in and do something. BC Transit is the ones responsible for public transportation in the region, and as such, they need to make sure that they do something to get the buses rolling.
In a statement, First Transit says they are willing to resume negotiations and participate in mediation or resolve the labor dispute through arbitration. 4 of the Vancouver Aquarium's popular African penguins are saying goodbye to BC after the aquarium's decision to ship them to Edmonton next week. The birds named Hope, Lillooet, Steveston, and Salt Spring have been at the aquarium since 2012. Staff have not disclosed the exact name of the foursome's new home, but a post on the aquarium's website notes they are joining a larger colony at an accredited facility. Trainers say the move is necessary to improve the endangered species' odds of survival, as the Edmonton facility will offer a chance for the birds to breed.
A bunch of the trainers, past and present, have built such a strong bond with these guys. Definitely sad to see them go, but they're little, but they've left big footprints on our soul.
Jean says while staff will miss the penguins, they are excited for them to embark on this new journey. The natural home for these penguins is Southern Africa, and you can't find them naturally anywhere else. They sure are cute. Okay, to Vancouver Island now, where a mama goat at the Beacon Hill Children's Farm in Victoria adopted a baby goat after losing her newborn at birth.
Moon went into labor and unfortunately she had a stillborn baby. We don't know why, there was no reason sometimes. And it was only one baby, so there wasn't a second one. And Moon was really sad after that one. It broke her heart that there wasn't a baby to welcome.
But less than 24 hours later, Moon's sister went into labor and had one baby goat so large, she apparently didn't notice a second smaller one come out. Loba says that's when they decided to act quick and give the second baby goat to Moon.
She put her lip a little bit. I was like, I don't know if this is mine. But after a short time of convincing and kind of putting the baby onto her face and saying, hey, this is yours, she took the baby in, and now I find it's pure joy to watch them. They're really, really tight together. Moon is a very good mom.
She says both mama and baby are very close and thriving, and the little ones play together all the time. It's an animal show this Friday. Lots of cute critters and furry ones on the show.
Well, the goat story worked out really perfect, I think. That's very sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about us? Are we expecting some sun anytime soon, Kuljeet?
Yes, we are, but we do have some rain to get through before that, and that will be this weekend. Let's take a look at our forecast conditions with this low pressure system arriving and bringing rain along the coast for Vancouver by around Saturday afternoon is when it's going to start. So that could be good news for some Vaisakhi goers. Go earlier in the morning is what I'm recommending and miss some of that rain. The rain will stick around, though, overnight and into Sunday. Scattered showers throughout the entire weekend. Today's high, 10 degrees, way below average. Low was not too far off. 100% humidity in case you felt it. We had some low-lying fog this morning that trapped a lot of that moisture. Saturday afternoon, like I said, is when that rain starts. How much of it? I'm going to get to that in just a second. Conditions across BC tomorrow, 40% chance of rain for Prince George, 11 degrees and cloudy, 10 degrees for Victoria with a 60% chance of rain. Sunshine for Kelowna, a bit of sun in the Kootenays as well, out in Cranbrook and double-digit numbers, so not too bad across the province. Here's what we're getting in terms of the amounts of rain for Saturday. 20 millimeters for Vancouver, of course, more at higher elevations. A little bit on Sunday, and then comes the sunshine on Monday with a little bit of cloud. We'll get a couple of cloudy days midweek next week before we return to a mix of sun and cloud. And look at this temperature, 21 degrees. I don't know if you remember what that feels like, but by the end of next week, and hopefully we'll be wearing less layers. Anita?
All right, I'll pack away, box
the
up
sweaters.
the winter clothing. Thanks, Kuljeet.
You're welcome.
Well, thousands across the Lower Mainland are joining together to celebrate the Muslim holiday of Eid. Eid marks the end of the month-long fast during Ramadan. And today, people in Surrey gathered for a Jummah prayer. The CBC's Yasmin Gandam was there.
Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam. My name's Yasmin, and I'm interested to know what we're doing here today.
Today is Eid, the first day after Ramadan. We're actually very lucky in the Muslim community to have Eid on a Jummah or a Friday prayer.
Walk me through when you enter the mosque here. What is the first thing that you would do?
So a Muslim woman, usually if she does not come into the mosque in a state of purity, she would make wudu or the ritual act of cleansing. As you can see, there are 3 benches, and each woman would come in, sit down with the hands, washing fronts and backs 3 times, arms up to the elbows, the right hand to the mouth 3 times. But there is a typical dua or a small prayer that is said when making wudu. I usually sit here with your hands cupped and towards your face, and then it's always touch the fingers and they come back down. You start with Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
And then it goes left hand to chest, right hand over left.
Okay.
You say Ameen.
Ameen.
And then it goes back up.
Okay.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
And to your knees. And then it's Subhana Rabbil Ala, back to standing.
Okay.
And then from there, you go down into what I like to call child's pose. Then at the end you go Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum. For people who don't maybe understand, can you explain the significance of Eid?
Eid, as I like to put it, is essentially Christmas for the Muslims. It's giving gifts and spending time with family as many would associate with Christmas.
what's the biggest message that you took out of today?
The main message is community for all the people and the international brotherhood, you can say. People understand what is Islam and what we have a message. Our message is peace.
What did you take away from that prayer today?
When I see all the Muslim praying here, like especially abroad, it gives me very much like joy, because I'm from Bangladesh, and there are so many. It's a Muslim country and there are so many Muslim people, but here it's a blessing, and we also live like 5 minutes away from home, so it's a very blessing to be so much close to our house.
What would you say to people who are not part of the community about why Eid is so important?
It's a joy, and it's a moment for us to enjoy our religion, and then obviously feeling the same vibe with all the Muslim around here. It's basically Christmas for us.
The Easter, the Vaisakhi, and the Eid all fell in the same month within a week's difference, which is great. People get together, you make good friends and be nice to other people. It doesn't matter what community you belong to.
And a library in West Vancouver went to the dogs today with the help of some clever kids.
It is about balance.
Pause for Stories is a program that aims to help young people grow their reading confidence. Children between the ages of 7 and 10 got a chance to read to a certified friendly therapy dog. It's run in partnership with the St. John's Ambulance Therapy Dog Program. Kids get to pick their favorite book to get tails wagging and sit with a patient pooch for 10 to 15 minutes.
There's lots of social emotional benefits when it comes to reading with a therapy dog. Kids who are maybe struggling with their reading confidence, kids who have a lot of energy and need a real grounding presence when they're settling down to read, kids who are learning English as an additional language. A dog is really just the most non-judgmental, relaxing reading audience you can have.
The Pause for Stories program runs at libraries across the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island, but kids will need to register online to book an appointment to read a book with Spot. Anything to get the kids reading, a great way to boost confidence for sure. That is it for our show tonight. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you back here on Monday.